y'all, so today I wanted to go over pack selection. Just kind of point out some things that you might want to consider when selecting a pack, especially for a long distance journey like the Appalachian Trail. And while I'm doing that, I'll go ahead and kind of review my pack and my final thoughts after spending a 6-month journey with it. This will be basically your, what I call turtle shell, your bedroom, your kitchen, your everything. So you really should make sure that you pick out one that's for you. So one of the first things I would recommend is going and actually get fitted for your pack. So I went to REI. I'm sure locally, a local outfitter would be fine. If you're in this area, Mountain High Outfitters, there are some folks there that have hiked extended sections of the AT, so they would be happy to help you. But it's just nice to be able to have somebody put like weighted pillows. That's what REI does. They put weighted pillows in here. They, try it on you. They measure your back and everything. But if for some reason you don't do that, just please make sure that you have an adjustable back on your pack, because it's very rare for it to like fit you perfectly. So if you're getting your first pack ever, this was my first one, it was important for me to have an adjustable back. That way I could make it fit my torso. The pack I went with is the Osprey Aura AG anti-gravity, and it's the 50 liter, and I'll kind of go over the capacity and things like that a little bit later. So as you can see, this is obviously an internal frame pack. They have external frame packs. Honestly, I don't know if REI even sells them anymore. That was, the old design. I would definitely go with an internal frame pack. I mean, that's predominantly what you'll see on the trail. But as far as the fit, you want to make sure that you've got, a hip belt that stays snug on you, because the point of the hip belt and the frame and all that is to make the weight rest on your hips. So that, it's running up and down and it's just sitting down on you. You don't want it pulling back on you. You don't want it, like resting on your butt or weird on your back, hitting your back funny. So you want it firmly around your hips, so all the weight is resting on that. So one of the things that I really like about this pack and this hip belt is you can see that the hip belt is rather wide. It's not just a strap. And this one actually, see how it grabs me? It's not, they snap too. So it's not just like a strap that flops around. So I really liked that on this pack. Another thing to consider when talking about your hip belt is your hip belt pockets. So mine was actually big enough, if I wasn't recording with my phone I would show you, but mine was actually big enough to put my phone in here. Well, here's pepper spray. It was big enough to put some snacks in, because when you're hiking, you don't want to always have to take your pack off to, stop and get snacks and things like that. So it's nice to be able to just pull one out and, keep going. So, so that's something to consider, your hip belt and how it fits you. I was told that when you have your pack on, tight and everything, and fitted, that you want some space here between your shoulders and your shoulder straps, because you don't want this thing just like weighing down on your shoulders, just like, oh, I mean, I'm telling you, it would hurt. For 2,000 miles, something that seems so small is like a huge deal. If you have your gear, you can, put it in and test the weight of your gear on your back, but walk around a little bit. I mean, I went through like 7 packs before I was like, oh yes, this one finally feels good, because there were all the others, I guess the suspension, it was just hurting my lower back. So, I mean, within a matter of minutes. So one thing I have to say I really loved about this anti-gravity system is just the fact that you had so much airflow between your back and the pack. A lot of packs, have a cushion here, and then your back is sitting directly on it, and it just like soaks up sweat. Now, don't get me wrong, you'll be sweaty regardless, but this anti-gravity suspension is just this continuous mesh here, and it just, I don't know, it's just really nice. It helps with the airflow. And then they also have the mesh on the shoulder straps, and as you can see here, on the hip belt. So I was definitely a fan of that. So another factor to consider about convenience while you're hiking is your water bottle holders. This is actually my tent poles here. But so I noticed with this pack, it seemed a little hard to reach it. And then to start with, these side pockets were so tight that it was just really hard to get it in. But I mean, with anything else, I developed flexibility and, strength, and this thing probably wore out some. So, I mean, I wouldn't not get this pack because of that. But, I mean, something to consider, And then making sure that the bottle holders are big enough to hold you know, whatever bottle you aim to carry. All right, so pack capacity. This is where it gets a little tricky because everyone's stuff is different. I went with a 50 liter. I would recommend having all of your gear when you go to buy your pack and then try stuffing it in there and seeing what works. I didn't do that. I just said I was going to make everything fit into a 50 liter because I knew if I had a larger capacity than that, then I would fill it, and I was trying to keep the weight down. So, and you would think that guys would want a higher capacity pack than girls, but there were fellas that had less than 50 liter packs. There were guys that had much more. Rebel Yell carried a 100 liter pack. So, you know, it's if you have for example, if you have a down sleeping bag like I do, it's going to compact into a much smaller space than like a synthetic sleeping bag. So it just really depends upon your gear. But I would say anywhere from 40 to 65 liter is common on the Appalachian Trail. Just a couple other features of this pack that I would like to mention are the mesh back here and the little bottom access. But the mesh back, I like to keep my rain gear, anything that I didn't care if it got wet, in here. So here are my frog togs. And then my Tyvek, and it was just easy access for the rain gear, you know, whenever it started raining. And then down here, this little access, I think, is mainly where you can store your sleeping bag for easy access. You'll see that in here there's this little flap, and you can actually fix it into place, and then that divides what contents you have in the top of your pack from what you choose to put in the bottom here. But I actually just left it open and didn't use it. I left this flap, you know, loose, and I only use this access for my pack cover for when it rained, just easy access again for rain gear. But I had a black contractor bag in my pack just to help keep everything dry and, you know, waterproof. So I did not use this probably for the purpose it was designed for, but if you had like a stuff sack that was waterproof for your sleeping bag, you know, this would probably be something that you would like. Okay, so some of the features on the inside, you've got this pocket here. I never really used it for my water bladder. I put my journal there, but it's there if you wanted it. And then here's a hole for like a tube from a hydration system to come out here, and then you can hook the tube, clip it to your strap here, and I did use that. Here you can get a better view of that little hammocking deal that I was talking about, that flap. So you can open it and use the full height of the pack, or you can section something off with that. So another thing to consider is your actual pack weight, so the weight of just the pack alone. I think mine was over 3 pounds, not exactly sure. But Riga started out with like either Gregory or Kelty, and it was much heavier. So that's something to consider. You want your pack to be durable, but just not so heavy, because it's just weight that you don't need. So another thing I liked about the pack I used, it has a detachable brain, removable brain. So I started out using this brain. It's got a pocket there and then the one up top. I began with it on my pack, and then like after I started shaving off weight and sending home things that I didn't need, I took it off. And then on the pack itself is like another cover. So yes, I really liked it that it had the removable brain, and that was some weight that you could kill from the pack right there. So this pack cost me about $230, I think. I think it was less than $250 anyway, but generally, you know, packs are going to run you about that for something like this. Overall, I was very satisfied with this being my first pack. It lasted me, this one pack, all 6 months, and, you know, didn't really tear up or anything. For the PCT, I would probably opt for a different pack. I feel like I'm a little more experienced now. I know that I can shave off a lot of weight and go with an actually pack that's like lighter itself, and that, you know, is meant to handle less weight. So I probably wouldn't use the same one, but at the same time, I do recommend this pack, especially folks who are just starting out. It had nice features. It wasn't too expensive, and it really did work for me. So, you know, with all of that said, you don't have to spend this much on a pack. Rebel Yell, like I was talking about, my friend Rebel Yell, he had a 100-liter pack that came from Cabela's. It was less than $100, I think, and he made it the whole trail. Now, he did have to replace the pack several times. They sent him a new one, but so there's just some things to keep in mind. You know, how much trouble you want to go through and all of that. But if you're going to be backpacking for a while, you know, I would just recommend going ahead and getting a good pack. You know, I always have this one to take on week-long trips and stuff like that. But I hope that that was helpful, and if any of y'all have any questions about this pack in general or other packs that I may or have seen on the trail or anything, then just let me know, and we will see y'all next time. Okay, so I am here at Amicalola State Park, and I am about to hike the approach trail. Just weighed my pack in and signed the register, so I'm off.